Welcome back in, everybody, to a Monday edition of Birds 365 here on JAKIB Sports. I'm your host, Zander Krause. That's my co-host, Johnny Mack, John McMullen. Give us follows on X at Zander Krause and at JF McMullen. We're joined right now by the great Jeff Kerr joining us here from CBS Sports. He joins us now on Birds 365. You can follow him at Jeff Kerr CBS. Jeff, good to see you, brother. How you doing this Monday morning back in your usual spot?
Yeah, Zander, it's weird, and John will probably agree with this. I'm not used to just having one day of mandatory minicamp.
Yeah, it's weird. It's like, why bother if you're only going to have one?
That's how I am. I wrote a mandatory minicamp preview for CBS, and I'm like, what a waste of words.
What did it used to be? 3 days, 4 days, 5 days?
Yeah, 3 days. 3 days.
Normally, John and I would be going today, and we'd be there till Wednesday or Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. But
right,
it's just
at least gives you enough of a window to have some takeaways, have some narratives, have some things that progress throughout the 3-day period. You're right. 1 day is not much.
Now, the Eagles, recently, coming off COVID, they didn't have minicamp at all. And last year they went back to a more structured minicamp. I will say, remember, they're coming off a very long season, so that probably factors into it as well. I don't think spring is that important overall, especially for the veteran players. But for the younger players, it's very important. And the Eagles have seemed to lean on that, meetings and stuff like that and walkthroughs are more important in the current environment. And it's hard to argue with them after their success. But that's kind of how they look at it. Are 3 days making you a championship team in June versus 1 day? Probably not. So, I see it from both sides.
I was wondering this too, John. I know they were talking about in the next CBA maybe doing away with this altogether.
Yeah, completely. Yeah. Probably. I would bet on when they go to 18 games, the offseason being eliminated. And by the offseason, I mean OTAs and minicamp.
I kind of would like that, like the ramp up period, I guess. I mean,
and training camp would start earlier, 1 or 2 weeks earlier.
We'd have to go to work earlier, but we wouldn't have to deal with this in June either.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the give and take when they go to 18 games. But we'll see how that shakes out.
I do think the NFL loves having something every week. You know what I mean? Like they always have.
They do.
Even if it's something small, they got something. I don't know if they would want to get rid of that, but I hear what you're saying, Joe.
Yeah. And from the players, they're just fighting for quality of life issues because they seem to lose in the more meaningful issues. So that's all they win with. And they keep going down that route. So I think that's what's going to happen, but we'll see how it shakes out. And the fact that, ultimately you'll have the same amount of time with the players. It'll just be in one big conglomeration. And that's probably better from a coaching perspective. Now it's probably worse from a executive perspective and also coaches as well, because the one thing, when the guys aren't in the building, when the guys are not in a structured environment, now the Eagles haven't had problems with this, but other teams have had many problems with guys doing stuff they're not supposed to do. And when you have young people in a structured environment, they're more likely to not do stupid shit. So that's an underreported part of it as well. You want young people to be doing something productive.
And you're right. We don't get those reports anymore about this player did this and this player did that. And if we do get it, it's between that period after this week and training camp.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, if you go back to, you don't have to go back that far. Go back to the cheerleaders incident. Yeah. You can go back to Josh Hupp evidently picking up a firearm at the CBS in South Philly because it wasn't on the NovaCare parking lot. I'm rolling my eyes, but you can go back to Daryl Worley getting in trouble. I think that was more training camp, though.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
never
I
made
thought
it.
I thought that was April. He did that. I thought it was right after
I
they
forget
traded.
what I know it was something was about to happen. He never made it to the season. He never made it to training camp. I think it was right before training camp, but I'd have to double check.
It was really weird covering those Ravens playoff games, not last year, 2 years ago. And Daryl Worley's like getting significant minutes. I'm like, oh yeah, he was an Eagle for like 2 seconds.
Yeah.
He was a guy that got what, he like fell asleep at the wheel or something that night, and there was a
Yeah,
gun on
Philly
his
guy
face.
too. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a big story. He's coming back to Philly. By the way, Jair Alexander was born in Philly. By the way,
He was just released.
yeah. Well, that's why I bring it up. We'll ask you if he's a fit. who's going to handle that at CBS? But
not Jeff Kerr. He doesn't start work till this afternoon.
yeah. So good that you're not going to be involved with that. But all right, we'll go down there. It was April 16th. So Jeff, good memory, Daryl Worley. So it was right before the draft. When he went off the rails.
Was that like a DUI? Like, because
there was more. It was you know, he was combative. He had firearms. It was DUI. I think he got tased.
All right, so it was a whole bunch of stuff there.
Yeah. It was an ugly incident.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah. All right, I'll let you go. Jair Alexander. Why is he not a fit for the Philadelphia Eagles? Or why is he is a fit for the Philadelphia Eagles?
I mean, you would love to see him in your team's uniform, but I just don't think he's a Vic Fangio type player.
No, he's not. Yeah.
That's the thing. He's more of a man guy and
pure cover corner.
Yeah.
No. One of the best, by the way, if he ever stays healthy.
You know, a team I could see pick him up, probably Pittsburgh.
Yeah, maybe.
They got
a lot of teams.
Back room, yeah, man. They'd have Slay and Jair. Jair's not that old. He's 28, right? I'm surprised the Packers have already moved on from him at 28.
I'll tell you where he's going right now. Minnesota.
Well, that'd be a great fit for him.
Constantly happens in that division. Packers, Vikings. They go back and forth. And the Vikings need corners badly.
Yeah, it all depends on how JJ McCarthy is, but Minnesota could be really, really good this year.
Yeah, they could, but I don't trust the quarterback. So that kind of derails it all. But yeah, I think that there's a lot of teams like he's a really good player. Now he hasn't been healthy for like 3 or 4 years. So
yeah, apparently it's 7 games, John, in the last 2 seasons he's played.
Yeah. But when he's out there, man, there are a few people that can cover like Jair Alexander, and he's still only 28.
And he still can't cover AJ Brown. I'm sorry. No, not many can. That's not really a knock on him, but Philly fans do have that one in their
I love when people say, but there's
Brown.
3 guys, you know, Jamar, Jefferson, and AJ. Like nobody can cover any of them.
Yeah, I agree.
So why? I mean, you know,
it's like in baseball. Oh, you can't hit Garrett Cole. You can't hit Paul Skeens. Well, no one can hit Paul Skeens.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
By the way, sorry on the
Philly.
sorry on the Philly season ending early.
I was told the season was over multiple times this year.
Yeah.
I can promise you guys it's not.
They are on a skid though right now, Jeff. But yeah, I'm with you. They still got plenty of time to turn it around. We'll see what ends up happening there. Yeah, the Jair Alexander stuff is interesting. I don't think it's likely for Philly at all. But do you think immediately would be the best corner in the room? Would he immediately improve the defense if that?
In that room, is that where you're going, Zander?
Yeah.
You know what? Can I just whisper? I think Cooper's better.
Yeah, I already did, Jeff. I already said Jair's better. That, like people are going to get pissed off by that. I mean, it's not particularly close. I mean, yeah.
Well, no, Jeff said Cooper's better. You said Jair's better, John.
I thought he was using the story of Cooper because I asked one high-profile Eagle who was better, Cooper or that's the whole story, Cooper versus Quinion, and he kind of looked around and who was there.
Checked his witnesses.
And he whispered, I think Cooper's better.
Wow. You can't reveal the name of who that Eagle was?
No, I know who it is. I'm not saying it either.
It was off the record. That's why you said
I always like to make this joke. There's a reason why I think a lot of these opponents pick on Quinyon and not Cooper. I think they know, like, they can touch the Hornets.
Cooper is a hell of a football player.
Yeah, they can touch the Hornets nest when it's Quinyon. You don't want to touch it when it's
Well,
Cooper.
I love when Vic talks about Cooper. He's like, yeah, he can play safety, he can play nickel, he can play outside corner. And then I think everybody talked about the safety. Everybody honed in on the safety because that was new. And I think people missed the bigger picture when he said it depends on the other guys. In other words, so if Ringo and Adoree Jackson can't play outside, he'll play outside. If they can't find another slot, he'll play the slot. If Makuba and Sidney Brown aren't ready, he'll play safety. Like, it depends on the other guys.
Yeah, John. I read it as in, if Cooper DeJean has to play safety, what does that say about Andrew Makuba and Sidney Brown? Or if he does play outside corner, which again, I wouldn't. This is not an indictment against Ringo or Jackson. I just think they want to keep him on the field at all times. But you're right. They really just don't have another option in the slot.
Yeah. Well, on paper, they don't. Unless you're a big Perry Nickerson fan. But who knows?
Or
Mac McWilliams.
Yeah.
They haven't started. Eventually, they're going to cross-train him. But yeah, on paper, they don't have another slot corner. Now, one of our listeners brought up it, correctly so, and I brought it up to Vic, and I've talked about it. Makuba played slot at Clemson, so maybe he's a better slot player than a safety. Maybe it works out that way. Maybe Makuba's playing slot and Cooper's playing safety.
One of the more intriguing Makuba things, I'm going a little off topic here, but I totally did not know him and Trotter were roommates.
Yeah. They were freshman roommates at Clemson. Like Quinyon Mitchell and Maxon Hook were roommates at Toledo.
I didn't know that. Let me ask you guys this about Cooper DeJean, because he's one that's been talked about a lot this offseason. Where would he be most impactful, in your opinion, on this defense? I believe, Jeff, he can play 5 spots in the secondary. Where would he be the most impactful for the defense?
Good question. John, you want to take it first?
Well, I already answered last week, safety. Only because at safety, you're able to have a bigger imprint on the game. You're more involved. You're communicating and manipulating the rest of the defensive backfield. You just have more of an opportunity. There's no coincidence that in this defense that CJ is the biggest playmaker, because he's got the opportunity to make the most plays. I think safety.
Yeah, I want to side with you on that, John. Like, just on this regard, when I was evaluating Cooper DeJean in the draft, before he was picked by the Eagles, I watch a lot of Big Ten. I'm like, man, this guy could be an all-pro safety if you let him be one. But I just feel in this defense right now, is best positioned in slot. And I think I keep him there, but yeah, I want to lean with you guys on this. Like, I just feel like if he was a safety, he would be that all-pro safety in this defense. The problem is, it's like you say, unless you're a big Perry Nickerson fan, or if Andrew Makuba does learn how to play slot, who's going to be there?
Yeah,
and I never envisioned that they drafted Cooper DeJean to be a safety. I'm not disagreeing with you guys that it could be his most impactful spot, but I just never thought that they wanted him to be a safety. I thought they wanted him to be a corner, and corners make the money.
Scout him as they did scout him.
Money. That's why I'm like, don't they want him at corner?
Well, safeties can make money too.
Safeties make money, but only the difference between corner and safety is they don't like to play corners early, pay safeties early. Sorry, and the big time safeties get paid when they become on their second contract, pretty significantly. But you're right, outside corner a little bit more, but there's not that huge disparity between outside corner and slot. If you're one of the top safeties in football, you're getting paid significant money.
I'm also under the impression, guys, that they're going to pay Cooper DeJean wherever they're lining him up, and they're going to pay him very handsomely. I think the Eagles will really like this player.
Well, they already really like him. That's
Yeah.
that bar.
Well, and it's also a Jeffrey Lurie pick. You guys remember the unscripted during the draft. I mean, I know not everybody wants to put stock into that, but when the owner of the team really likes a player, you're going to keep that player around.
But I don't think that's Cooper centric as far as safety. It's sort of like the weird dichotomy of football. Like running back is devalued, but who touches the football more than Saquon Barkley? Like he has, besides the quarterback, obviously. But who touches the quarterback? Now, linebackers have been devalued, but who makes the most plays?
Linebacker.
Yeah. I mean, that's just the nature of the game. And it's a weird dichotomy because they don't get paid like it. But part of the reason running backs don't get paid, most of the reason, is because it's a short shelf life position. Not that people don't recognize that they can have an impact on the game. Linebacker, you got to find a 3-down guy like Zach Bond, and then those guys get paid. Fred Warner gets paid, but again, generally on the second and in his case, third contract. But those guys have the biggest impact on the game because they're involved the most.
You know what? I'm still kind of worried about this team. Again, this will tie into minicamp here, and I'll bring it back to just from covering the Phillies. Like, you knew the Phillies didn't have a center fielder, right? You knew they had deficiencies in their lineup, especially at the bottom of their lineup. Well, those deficiencies maximized when Bryce Harper was out. I'm going to compare this to the Eagles' pass rush, the Eagles' secondary, definitely the pass rush. What happens if a Nolan Smith gets hurt again, or Jalen Hunt gets hurt? Are you really going to rely on Aziz Ujulari and Josh Uche to bail you out?
Right now,
it would be ugly, I think. But that's every team. Injuries are that's what makes the NFL the NFL. I mean, one injury can change your trajectory significantly.
Yeah, I just feel like, not that saying they can't get by, but I just look at this pass rushing situation right now. I'm like, man, this is just blatant arrogance what they're doing.
Yeah, and if you look at it, Jeff, I mean, based on what you just said too, last year they were so much more loaded coming in. Even if you don't think it was that great of a room, think about it. Nolan Smith and Jalen Hunt were the what, 4th and 5th options last year coming in.
And you didn't think Jalen
Hunt was
Brandon
Graham, Josh Sweat, and Bryce Huff, and all three of those guys, for whatever reason, didn't play the whole season, injury, whatever the case may be. You got to your 4th and 5th edge rushers, and they would have been your best. I don't think if that happens again this year, you're going to have the same result.
Yeah, like I don't think
Antoine Powell Ryland, baby.
Yeah, baby, come on, APR.
Look, I wouldn't be crazy over like them signing one of the veterans like a Zadarius Smith. I don't think he's a fit, but Von Miller would be. But he's 36. Like, even if you don't think he's going to do anything, it's probably still better to have somebody
right
there.
Von Miller's 36 years old, and he can fall out of bed, be the best pass rusher on this team.
Isn't that sad?
Can he be the Brandon Graham role last year when BG was healthy? Like, I don't need you. Well, BG was pretty damn good last year for 35 years old. He also played a lot. I don't know. I just feel like it's so thin. I mean,
but that's one of the greatest pass rushers of all time.
Wouldn't you like if you're Von Miller thinking like, okay, I played with Vic, I like Vic. If I was Vic, I would go to, if you're trying to convince Von Miller to come here, be like, see what I did with Brandon Graham last year? I let him play. That's going to be you.
He's not suspended, is he? He was suspended last year, I know.
No, that's over.
But that's over, yeah. That's my only question. Even last year, he had 6 sacks. Yeah, he's big time. But he's 36 years old. I mean, at some point, it's got to hit the wall.
We thought the BG was going to hit the wall. It did, but in a different way.
That's what I mean. Is BG the insurance package? Is he still?
No, I think he's done.
Week 10 coming in?
Nah, he's done.
Somebody's saying that in the chat.
He's done. Yeah, they said the same thing about Fletcher last year, and then Fletcher
Yeah,
lost a bunch of
what was
weight.
the telltale sign with Fletcher? He lost
He
all the
lost
weight.
he lost all the weight.
He lost a lot of weight, and when you're going drag racing on weekends with Cox
Yeah.
Racing, you're not coming back.
We
I don't know. I haven't seen some
we were down there last week doing some behind the scenes stuff that I can't talk about, and BG was there greeting us as we walked in. He's just like a greeter now. You know, he's giving us a hug as we walked in.
He was talking to me and Martin Frank for about 5 minutes before we went to the auditorium. He almost missed
Did
the
he
first
look
press
like he
conference.
lost any weight, or
Not
does he
yet.
still look?
Not yet.
Yeah,
Not
he's
yet.
holding it on, boys. Come on.
Not yet.
They might tap into BG this year.
BG is more worried about Michigan trying to beat Penn State than actually coming back to the
I don't know, man. He is in the air. He still lives in the area. His kid's in the area. He's keeping on the weight, Jeff Kerr. He is NFL ready, my friend.
Yeah, we're going to see where Brandon, because I know he's got a lot of options in Michigan too, because they love him there so much. So I hope he stays, but we'll see how that shakes out as well. Yeah, I don't think he's coming back though. And by the way, the Eagles, are, planning on Nolan Smith having a big season and Alex Hunt taking a big step forward. So that's their hope as well.
Well, yeah, and you know what? That is hope I can get behind. It's just, again, what happens if one of them gets hurt? Then
and last year,
go ahead,
and last year Bryce Huff got hurt, Brandon Graham got hurt, Nolan got hurt, I guess, at the end of the year. But that's not a position where you normally go through the year and nobody gets hurt. I mean, it's just not.
I don't think Brandon wants to ruin the storybook ending. To come back. Now, you can say come back and rescue and go to the Super Bowl again. But if you're struggling that much where you're thinking about bringing Brandon Graham back at 37 years old,
right,
you're probably not going to the Super Bowl. And why does he want to come back to?
All right, well, what about this scenario? What about this scenario, John? The Birds are 7-3 through 10 games, and God forbid, but just for the sake of the hypothetical, one of their edge rushers goes down, either Nolan or Jalix or somebody prominent. 7-3, still feel like you're a contender. Do you call up Brandon Graham at that point? I think you would.
I don't think so.
I'm just gonna say this from prior experience, watching this team, history of football. I still remember when the '97 Eagles were desperate and called Richard Dent, and Richard Dent he was okay for him, but he wasn't Richard Dent anymore. And their pass rush still was not good.
Hey, Robert Quinn was a hell of a pass rusher for a long time, right up until he wasn't.
Didn't he just have some legal trouble?
Yes. Good guy, but yes.
Yeah. He was a great interview that Super Bowl year. I talked to him almost every week.
Yeah, he's a great pass rusher, too, for a very long time. But, it goes quickly in this league.
Again, this is just me being hypothetical. You got 13 draft picks next year. I'd still be calling the Cincinnati Bengals. I don't care.
Well, yeah, I brought up Trey, but so many things would have to happen. Obviously, could help. Obviously.
Yeah, it can't hurt him.
One, is he a fit? Again, we talked about fit with Jair. He's more of a wide 9 guy. So he's more, if you think about, Trey Hendrickson ain't dropping in the coverage. He's not really setting the run that well, setting the edge that well. He rushes the passer to a ludicrously productive degree. So, A, I don't think he's a fit. B, why is he going to play here for $18 million or whatever versus the 35 he wants out there?
You would have to double his salary.
Yeah, which they're not doing. So to me, the only way it would work is if he agreed to play 1 year under his current salary to chase a Super Bowl.
Which
I don't think he's a fit for Vic. I don't think he's a fit for Vic.
That's where I worry. That's where I feel like, and look, I'm not doing a read between the tea leaves here, but it just feels like the only available option, unless there's someone I don't know about, is Von Miller. That would actually be a fit.
Yeah, Well, we'll see how. I mean, right now, I think they're going in house until Vic wakes up in July and says, "All right, we're August," and says August more likely. All right, this isn't good enough.
By the way,
If it gets to that point.
John, I don't remember Vic saying this last week, but I saw a tweet that someone asked Vic about the Phillies. He said, "Oh, like the warts are showing or something." I'm like,
Yeah. The warts always show. He
yeah,
started,
yeah.
We
Well, and he
Vic
should
likes
know.
Vic likes the bullshit about the Phillies. He likes the Phillies. He loves the Phillies.
Oh yeah, he's had a lot of games. Like he won't. Like sometimes he'll sit behind the plate, but like he'll. I mean, the Phillies don't watch batting practice a lot, and it is funny watching Vic kind of comment on the baseball team.
Yeah. Well, I think he feels comfortable. He's just being a fan. I shouldn't say that because Vic is very comfortable saying whatever he wants to say. So
Yeah.
I think he's just comfortable in his own skin. But
Vic is to me is so welcome just because of everything is treated like a fortress, and you got Vic. Yeah, he won't be back till
yeah.
August.
Well, I guarantee Nick's going to talk probably before practice. I would think on Tuesday. And yeah, if you ask him the same thing about Jihad Campbell or Nakobe Dean, he's not giving you the information that Vic gave you.
Last year, I remember like you and I were joking, John. It's been a very kind of
I don't even ask Nick about injuries
no,
anymore.
because there's no point. He's not going to give you anything. He even says that like, look, look, you'll get the practice report.
Yeah.
But I remember last year, John, you and I were like, yeah, this has been a bland mini camp outside of the whole Ed Kratz overreactions, Kenny Pickett's there, and Jalen Hurts. And then all of a sudden, Martin Frank just asked the normal question, and Jalen gave the answer he gave. Well, sort of.
Yeah, Jalen likes to get out what he wants to get out. So he will use anything and turn it into where he wants to go. That's his mentality. That's
John, refresh my memory. Didn't we have a powwow with the head coach after that? Wasn't it after that press conference, like right after?
I don't remember the timing, but yeah, we do that every year. But yeah, I don't remember the timing. The timing shifts back and forth, but yeah, he does basically an embargoed session, which is to talk about big picture issues with the beat reporters, and it's generally to prepare for training camp more than like the immediacy of mini camp, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's great. It's great content for right when training camp starts. It is.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's embargoed to right before training camp starts.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where, anyway, inside baseball. But yeah, anyway, yeah. It's a lot of stuff that goes on behind.
Yeah. No doubt. Jeff, John wrote on this thing, pre-mini camp that Jalen has looked good this summer so far. Now, you haven't seen much. I understand that. It's kind of one of those things where how much does it mean, if it means anything at all? But it's better than he looked at this point in the year last year. Is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? Is that a nothing thing? What do you think of Kevin Patullo coming in and what that means for Jalen Hurts?
I mean, I personally have not seen that many changes and again, keep in mind, we've only seen 2 open practices.
Right.
But Jalen just seems really comfortable trekking the ball down, going to Jahan Dotson, making the throws when he needs to make them. Like the throw to Goddard he had last week was picture perfect. And when he threw it, I decided to watch him and not the execution of the play. And Jalen had his finger up. Like he knew it. He knew it was going to be, or at least it was going to be right in the bucket where he needed it to be. And I just think that's the maturity. That's the confidence level. I think that's a guy who has won a Super Bowl, has been on top of the mountain, wants to stay on top of the mountain. And look, I would not be surprised if we had another really good year from Jalen this year. I thought he got a lot more confident as the year went on because he wasn't turning the football over.
Yeah, I'm on record. He's going to have a better season than last season. I'm on record.
And he had a pretty good finish the last year, too.
He had a very good finish, but I don't think it was his best season overall. He had a very good finish, obviously. But I think he's going to be more consistent this season. But yeah, I thought I'm one of the few, but I thought last season was his not, I thought he was better and certainly better in 2022. I thought he's better in 2023. I think people missed the lead in that, which is the defense collapsing.
Yeah,
I thought he was better.
and he was pressing too, I thought.
Yeah, well, because the defense, yeah. When you're playing from behind or you press more, that's the nature. It's going to happen this year if it happens. And he might not be better ball security wise if you have to go win some games in the fourth quarter. But I think overall, from a personal perspective, I think he's going to be much better than he was last season. Now, can he keep up the final 2 games? Probably not. So it depends how you look at it. We've been through this twice now, Hey, nobody's outplaying Nick Foles in the NFC Championship game in Super Bowl 52. Nobody. But that's 2 games. Nobody's outplaying Jalen Hurts in the NFC Championship game and the Super Bowl. But that's 2 games. Jalen has played 2022 when he was runner-up to be MVP. I mean, he was phenomenal. Everybody has ups and downs. They had some bad games that people forget about, but he would win them. Like he had a bad game in Indy, I remember. And then he goes and wins it in the fourth quarter. He had a bad game in Houston when the Phillies were in the World Series.
That's a game everybody seems to forget, by the way, because Phillies were in Game 5 of the World Series.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. But, overall, he had a better season, way better season.
Didn't Miles Sanders have a big game that night?
Miles had a lot of big games, yeah. Miles had a great season in 2022, but he got hurt at the end. Which,
by the way, I get so mad when people say he choked in the Super Bowl. I'm like, he didn't choke in the Super Bowl. He got hurt in the Super Bowl.
Well, he choked on the first play of the Super Bowl, and then he broke his hand
on
the first play because he choked. Yeah. And I'm joking. He can't choke. But he bounced it outside. He shouldn't have.
No, he shouldn't have.
And he got hurt.
They just never recover. I know a lot of Eagles fans probably love to forget about that Super Bowl now just because of they did get their revenge, but I still can't believe they let Isaiah Pacheco just run all over them.
Well, the way that defense played the whole season, the thing most disappointing for them was the blown communications at the end, because they were so good with it all year. But I tell the story on Super Bowl 52 all the time. Jim Schwartz is still pissed off at the way the defense played in that game, but they won. So he's the only one pissed off.
What is it? I think the Eagles have like 2 distinguished Super Bowl records, and it's most points given up in the Super Bowl and won, and I think most points scored in the Super Bowl and lost or something like that.
And most passing yards.
Yeah, I think that another person pissed about that day is Tom Brady, who had his best Super Bowl performance ever and lost.
And he was 40, by the way.
I know.
Yeah.
505 passing yards. That feels like it's inconceivable to happen for the Eagles.
The other week, I shouldn't have responded, but I did because I just was in the mood. And for me, as an historian, when you tie Tom Brady for the most touchdowns in your first 2 Super Bowl starts, that's pretty damn impressive. And for someone to actually have the audacity to say that means nothing, I'm like, oh, all right. You know what? Just shut up. Sit down and shut up. I don't care if you're trolling or not. Like, I don't know. It's the fact that the Jalen Hurts haters have to diminish everything he does because he runs into the end zone is beyond stupid.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, I don't agree with that. I mean, touchdowns, I don't care how you get in the end zone.
6 is 6.
Yeah, 6 is 6, exactly. And he's played phenomenal in both Super Bowls. He played better when he lost than when he won, but he played great in both. I maintained since the day of that game, he was the best player on the field in the Super Bowl they lost.
I still like. I thought he had a great Super Bowl when they won, but my issue was, and again, this is the politics of the NFL. It drives me insane. Josh Sweat should have been Super Bowl MVP.
Josh should have been the MVP.
Just like the first year the Giants won, they gave it to Eli Manning. I'm like, Michael Strahan, Justin Tuck,
Yeah, exactly.
Osi Umenyiora exists. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah. Yeah, that's just the nature of it. Yeah, you're exactly right. Or Milton Williams.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I mean, Cooper DeJean could have got it. Zach Bond could have gotten it.
Yeah. I mean, 9 drives didn't go past the 50-yard line. One game. You know, Jeff, how many games there are in an NFL season?
I mean, if you play all, I mean, for the Eagles, it was 21.
But I mean, the Super Bowl, the total, it's like 280 something, whatever.
Yeah.
200 and whatever number of games, 280, 290.
It's 282.
282. They played 281 games. Think about all the shitty teams, all the shitty quarterbacks that have to play, the Tommy DeVitos of the world. Sorry to pick on you, Tommy DeVito. There was not one defense that went 9 drives against any team in any game and didn't allow them to pass the 50-yard line until the Super Bowl. How do you not reward somebody on that defense?
Yeah, I agree. And look, I it's fun saying Jalen Hurts is Super Bowl MVP, but you know, as John points out, I pointed out, like, man, that defense is the reason they won.
Yeah, Patrick Mahomes couldn't cross the freaking half midfield for the entire game practically. I mean, Jalen had a great game, no doubt. He did his job well, but yeah, that defense was that. I mean, Jeff, you can apply that to the whole season too. I mean, the reason the Eagles are able to run the ball so much and so effectively is because their defense has given them good field position, given them the time of possession, done all the things they needed to do, held their opponent to 16 points a game or whatever it was last year. So much of last year's team, it's a complimentary game, but they played complimentary football last year. But a lot of that was really held up by the defense. And
I mean, the reason they took control of the Rams game, like, we all remember the Saquon run, but the defense forced 2 fumbles late in that game.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I mean, well, and I think people look at the final score and they say 40-22. It's a blowout, but it's not that bad. The game was 34-0.
It was 40-6 with 5 minutes left.
It was a
34-0 when they crossed midfield. The game was over.
My boss and my boss's boss, they were covering the Super Bowl with me, and one's a Dolphins fan, one's a Giants fan. And they said as soon as Cooper had the pick 6, this game is over, period. And they're like, we know what you're going to say, Kerr. I said, look, it's only 17. They're like, this game is over. And they were right.
Yeah, well, yeah. I thought it was more the AJ touchdown. But 17-0, you can come back from 17.
Well, that's what I said. I'm like, it's not like the Chiefs haven't done it before, but they both said.
But they couldn't block anybody, so.
Yeah. Well, that was it. They said they just never seen Patrick Mahomes so rattled, and they did cover the Super Bowl when Tampa kicked the crap out of them. So.
But isn't it funny? The same thing happened, essentially. Not to the degree in the Eagles, but the same thing happened. They couldn't block Tampa's front. And you just brought up Eli Manning, same thing. New York Giants upsetting the greatest team I've ever seen. They could not block their front. It had nothing to do with Eli Manning.
No.
I'm exaggerating. He obviously played well, but
yeah, it is like, it is funny. Like, when we talk about that 07 Patriots team, by the way, like, they're probably the greatest team I've ever seen too. But I love how people like to put them in the list with, you know, actual Super Bowl champions. A lot of people go, well, they didn't win. I said, I agree, but that's what makes the NFL so great. Like, they couldn't finish it.
Yeah. Only takes one upset. It's like the tournament, NCAA tournament. Yeah. I mean, you know, it's best of 7's a lot different than, you know, a one-off. And that's why you have so many more upsets Not anymore in the NCAA tournament, but I digress because of how college basketball's changed. But in a different era, you had upsets all over the place. Same thing happens in football because of the parity and injuries. You get one injury, can change your whole season from a week to week situation. I always go back to the Rams game. People hate it, but that's how close you were to bitching all off season. You know, a Jalen Carter pass rush. That's how close you were.
Yeah, and you know what? It's when people want to hype up the Rams as a Super Bowl contender, you just got to look at that game. They were close.
Yeah, shouldn't have been. I mean, the Eagles let them. Probably should have beaten them more handily, but they didn't. And they needed that really 2 plays, but the first rush, back-to-back rushes, but the first was the significant one because defender slipped. Higbee was wide open. If Stafford has time to see that, they're scoring.
By the way, where do we rank that game against the Rams, snow game, in like Eagles lore? That top 5, top 10?
That's better for the fans to say than me.
I mean, that was an aesthetically incredible game, but John does point out they did struggle. Like you know what I mean? They struggled 60, whatever it was, passing yards on offense. Now, I think Jalen had the rushing touchdown. Saquon had the rushing touchdown in that game. I think it's up there. I don't know if it's
Jalen had what was Jalen's rushing touchdown, like 47 yards or something like that.
He was the one at the start, right? Or was that the Packer game? No, that was
no. He had the big. It was 44, I think.
Yeah, right.
That started the scoring, and then I think they missed the extra point.
All I remember about that game was it was going to snow. It was just when it was going to snow and when it was going to stick. And I still remember Andrew DeCecco and I were getting food at halftime, and we come back and he goes, "There it is, Jeff." I said, "Yep, it's sticking. There it is."
Yeah. Yeah, the aesthetics were great, but that was, that was Jalen Carter saving the season game.
Yeah. Jalen Carter's going to be really good.
That's why you get good players, though, man. Big time players make big time plays. That's what Jalen Carter did.
And Vic brought that up at his press conference last week when people were asking him about how many snaps Jalen Carter played last year. He said that was number 68 and 69 of that particular game. And that's he still had that kind of juice.
Yeah, that's incredible.
By the way, Jalen just looks physically fit. He just does.
Well, he always does. Yeah. I don't think that's ever been a problem. Yeah, 68 and 69.
Hopefully
was in that particular game.
Hopefully Peloton works for Jordan Davis.
I told John last week, Jeff, I'm on Peloton's site, man. I gotta get a Peloton ordered. I sit on these shows all damn day. I gotta work out a little bit more.
Xander, you know how you get yourself fired up? Like, I don't know if you guys are into this or not. I watch that American Ninja Warrior like religiously. I go on that treadmill. I don't get off it like until the episode's over. Like, I see what those guys
fired
do,
up by the ninjas.
Yeah, I'm like, what? I'm like, what the heck am I doing with my life? I see a 40-year-old woman just complete a course like it's nothing, and I'm like, what am I sitting here doing?
Yeah.
Why is
American
that so unsurprising to me that Jeff is a religious watcher? His words, not mine, of American Ninja Warrior.
NFL players do it. It's insane to see something.
Do they? What channel is that show on?
That's NBC.
NBC.
I don't watch network television anymore. There's nothing.
That's why I don't watch it.
Yeah. There's nothing.
Honestly, stressful. Like what I enjoy about the show is it's just as mental as it is physical, and it's like you against the course. Now they're changing a lot of how the show is, but that's the premise of it. It's like you could be the best athlete on the planet, but if you screw up once, your season's over, which is nuts.
I love when everybody talks about like NFL players are the best athletes in the world. No, they're not. Not even close. You know who the best athletes in the world are? Gymnasts.
Yeah, gymnasts.
And nobody knows.
That's why Simone Biles gets a lot of hype.
Yeah. I mean, they're outrageous.
Basketball players, I feel like, should be up there too, no?
I don't think so. Not with gymnasts. No, nobody. I mean, they're
I guess
just,
only a few of them, like only a few operate like LeBron. Some of it is skill, but I don't know. I watch LeBron. I'm
I
like,
mean,
is
they're
that
great
the most athletic
athletes.
dude I've ever seen in my life?
Right. It's I guess it's how you define your definition of best athlete. But for me, I mean, they get, and I don't even know their names. I don't know who the best gymnasts are in the world, but like the 70th gymnast. Anybody ever try to do an iron cross out there? I remember the first day back in high school gym class. I don't know if they still do this, but our gym teacher said if anybody can do an iron cross, you get an A. You're done for the year. And we're all sitting there trying to do. We can't even get out to here. Iron cross is when you have to.
Yeah, ours was if you could do 100 pull-ups, you got an A.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, gymnast for me.
I was the jerk who said, "Oh, I'm gonna try it." Yeah, I got to like 27, and I'm like, "Yeah, I'm out."
And if you see big, powerful people try to do an iron, guys who can bench press 550 pounds, can't even come close to doing it.
Well, that's strength. I mean, what about like jumping? That's why I said LeBron. It's like dude's like 6'10". He jumps.
That's what I mean. Gymnasts have better verticals than all NBA players.
Yeah, well, that's probably true. I don't know. Well, that's probably true. I'd have to look.
They're unbelievable athletes. Unbelievable athletes.
Oh, I'm not denying that. I'm not denying that at all. Of the big four, though, I do feel like
of the big four, I think, basketball.
Yeah, I would go basketball.
Yeah.
Football's up there, though.
Well, corner, football, you have different corner and wide receivers are the great athletes.
Hockey deserves a mention too. You got to be coordinated and balanced enough to go on skates.
You got to be able to skate
with your stick. Yeah, that's what I mean. And you're doing all of that on skates. I mean, there's some truth to that too. But is that athleticism?
And people would talk. Probably the hardest thing in sports, in the major sports, is hitting a baseball. But they're not great athletes,
right?
Some of them are.
Coordination. I mean, that's very hard coordination.
Yeah. Fun debate, guy. Who is the best pound for pound player in the NFL?
The best player in the NFL.
Pound for pound is a tough one.
Because I remember for years we would say it was Trent Williams. I don't think we can say that anymore.
I think Miles. I've been on the Miles bandwagon for a while.
I was waiting for one to say Micah.
No, he's
I think Miles is better. I'm kind of with John on that
one. Well, I still go back. There's two people for different reasons.
I got my pick.
Of all the practices I've seen over the years that stood out in practice, like when you stand out in practice, like practices, like who gives it? It's boring. Yeah. It's repetitive. And then you get to see two guys who just dominate to the point that it's ridiculous. And one of them was Miles. And again, he's doing it against Jordan Mailata, who's maybe the best left tackle in football. And he ruined the whole practice. I've never seen anything like it. And then Tom was the other one, Tom Brady, just his accuracy. I've never seen, there's a lot of cursing at football practice. I've never seen more cursing because we're on the, Jeff knows there's on the field to the right of the NovaCare complex. So we're on the side and I was up close for one-on-ones, Patriots at the time, receivers against Eagles cornerbacks. And the Eagles, after the rep on the one side, the Eagles corners and DBs would walk right next to me. And every single one of them was just, fuck. Because the ball placement was insane.
Yeah. I would have liked to have watched that practice. That would have been one I would have liked to have been at.
And people still talk. You can ask, I know a bunch of guys who are still here were there. You can ask them all. It was unbelievable. It was unbelievable. And the same thing with Miles. What was that, 2 years ago? They're going to be back this year, by the way. Cleveland.
Yeah, that's what, second week they're coming?
Yeah. And he took off. They had 2 joint practices, and he took off the second day. and Elliot always jokes, he goes, who won the practice? Who won the joint practice? And that was one of the few times that the opposition beat a Nick Sirianni team in a joint practice. They destroyed them. And then the next day, Miles took off and the Eagles just destroyed them.
Yeah, that was my I still remember that when that joke was coming around. I'm like, I think I did I had to do like overreactions or like from the joint practice. I'm like, the Cleveland Browns are going to win 10 games this year. And I got destroyed. And I remember when they got their 10th, I put that story up. I'm like, there was some truth to it. And one of the reasons was because I wrote Myles Garrett just wrecks people.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah, he does. I got a couple super chats. Jeff, I'm going to read them while you're here. All right, brother. Alfredo checks in. He says, John, is there a presser after minicamp tomorrow? There is, right? Or before?
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be pressers. Again, I don't have the schedule. I think Nick is going to talk before practice, not after. But that's just my speculation.
I have a hunch Saquon Barkley will be talking.
Yeah, and then players are going to talk. I don't know if that's going to be before or after, but everybody likes to bail, and I think they're going to have practice later in the afternoon, I think. But again, I don't know. So, yeah, guys will be talking, but I don't know if it's going to be after or before. Any
pressing questions for Nick for you guys? I mean, like last year at this time, it was like, what's the split with you and Kellen? Like whose offense is there? I remember that was a big talking point at this time last year. Is there any of that for Nick? I guess not. When you're coming off a Super Bowl win, you've earned the right to coast through the offseason.
Yeah, well, Nick, to me is not sorry, Nick, but I love the guy, but he's gotten to practice the art of not saying anything.
He's very good at that.
Yeah.
My favorite, John, is when he gets asked a question and he literally figures out how to talk about the question for 5 minutes without
without
a talking thing. I'm like, I give you credit because you're good at that. I can, as a talk show host, I can respect that.
Or you know what? Or he'll go to Larry Karras or something. That's when you lost him.
Crazy, yeah. I mean, that's Nick Frieda.
Yeah, that's what he does, man. He knows he's got 15 minutes. He knows to run out the clock, and if you ask him a question that generates a Larry Karras reference, you're vilified. Nobody wants to hear that.
Here's Prince. He's tired of our if arguments. It's amusing to think that if Jalen Hurts hadn't fumbled, we could have 2 Super Bowls. Let's stop with the if scenarios. If. If
the defense didn't give up 38 points, they'd have 2 Super Bowls.
I love the hypocrisy of people. In his same comment, he's a hypocrite. Like, stop with the ifs, and then he does an if. If Jalen did, we'd have to.
Well, I think he's using that as an example of if we did this, we would have won that Super Bowl. Nobody says that. We lost a Super Bowl.
Can I use my my phrase I use in bowling? If my aunt had balls, she'd beat my uncle.
Yeah, that's what somebody
Also, the base logic of a fumble in the second quarter, and then just saying, "Oh, we scored," we would have had that number of points, Kansas City, and there's a whole 30 plus minutes to play. And that whole dynamic of that play shifts the way the game goes.
Exactly.
Now, if you say, if the fumble came with 10 seconds left and they returned it for a touchdown and said, "Oh, we would have won the game." Yeah, that's an if. A second quarter fumble is never an if. Ever, other than it hurt the Eagles significantly, which is true.
It did hurt.
And they were only up 10 at halftime as a result of that second quarter fumble. But they were still up 10.
Yeah, they were up 10 points. You can still persevere.
It was a big swing, though, guys.
There's no law against persevering.
It was still a big swing. D. Hughes checks in. Thunder in 5, Thunder in 5, Thunder in 5. He's a big Thunder fan, evidently, here, D. Hughes.
I am watching the game last
Well, they have dominated.
I watched the game. Yeah, they have completely. Yeah. Like
Their
the Pacers,
defense-
when the Thunder are rolling, it doesn't look like the Pacers are the same caliber.
They can't handle their defense. I haven't seen a lot of Thunder basketball over the season, shockingly, but
They're
I
good,
do
though.
not know how good they were defensively. They're unbelievable.
They're
defensively.
going to end up, especially if they seal the deal, which I kind of agree with D. Hughes. I think they're going to seal the deal here. They're going to be one of the best teams in NBA history.
Yeah, 60. What they win? 68.
68-14.
Yeah, it's pretty
And
good.
Largest margin of victory, cumulative margin of victory over opponents in the postseason.
It's pretty good, man. They
That's
are.
really good.
It's like they are relentless on the defensive end. Like
Game
everybody
one of that series, which I did watch, it did feel like the 0-1 Sixers when they beat the Lakers. It's like, oh, that's awesome. What a great story.
Yeah,
Can they do it
they're done.
again?
They're done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
They had to expend so much energy to win one game with 0.3 seconds left.
Yeah.
I still remember growing up watching that 0-1 team because I watch every game that year. I'm still a diehard Sixers fan, but when they won game one, I'm like, man, if they could find a way to just get one more, maybe they could do something. I remember they were up in the fourth quarter in game two, and then the Lakers decide, you know what? Shaquille O'Neal is the best freaking player in the world. We're going to see if he can beat Dikembe Mutombo. And they did, and the Lakers pulled away late. It was still a close game, but I was like, that was it. That was it. If they could find a way
I'll upset the Sixers fans for those who know, which is probably not many. They should have never traded Theo Ratliff.
I say that. Yeah. Oh, I said they were 41-14 when they traded Ratliff.
They were unbelievable with Theo Ratliff.
Yeah.
And they got it caught in their mind. They needed a bigger body to deal with Shaq. Yeah.
Yeah. By the way, they were like barely over 500 with Mutombo.
Yeah. They should have never traded Theo.
You know, my other hot take from that series, and this comes from the biggest Kobe Bryant fan on the planet. Kobe Bryant was the third best player in that series. And Kobe fans do not like when I say that.
Yeah. Well, you know, fans are fans.
Yeah, and they're like, they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, one, I was better than him at the time, and two, Shaquille O'Neal was better. So,
well, yeah, but it doesn't matter. What was great about those Lakers teams is, and what the Sixers couldn't do with Joel Embiid is understand that, yeah, well, Shaq can be the best player for, 43 minutes, but the final 5 minutes are Kobe's.
Yep. And that's
and he accepted that. And he accepted that. And it's hard to get guys with that level to accept that, because he couldn't shoot free throws and all that kind of stuff. He couldn't be the closer. Kobe was the closer. And they got him to accept that. And Phil Jackson deserves credit for that. The Sixers could never get Joel Embiid to accept that. And different types of players, but how many end of season series when Joel was out there was just turnover after turnover late in the game?
Yeah, that was like, especially when Harden was there, I'm like, all right, James, take over the game. Don't give the ball to Joel. And
yeah, he wouldn't do it.
Yeah. It was weird. But by the way, John, fun story about the 0-1 Sixers. Being that, just with that team, I just remember when their season ended, there was a fan sitting behind me and my dad trying to tell his son they'll be back. And me and my dad turned around and said, no, they won't. He's like, why do you say that? I'm like, because they were a 500 team and they traded for Mutombo. They will not be back. And they never got back to the finals.
Yeah.
Sixers. Not where I wanted to start on a Monday morning, folks.
Yeah. Well, and they're putting all their eggs back in the Joel Embiid and Paul George basket.
Yeah, I'm really excited. I'll tell you what. I'll be excited on draft night, and then that'll be
Chef Kerr going to bail on the season tickets. That's
Nope, I still got them. We have to commit in March. So
no,
I would not make that commitment.
Commitment's been made by Jeff.
John, you gotta go to a game with me this year. We can bitch about the Sixers.
If I'm going in the press box. Dave Schaller. So yeah, maybe I'll come down.
I have the famous chant in my section: "Stop winning." They were winning like late in the fourth quarter of one of the games, and I think
Jeff, if you want to bring me, I'll sit in the seats with you. I don't.
There you go. Yeah, you can.
I'm a man of the people, Jeff.
I told Knicks fans over the years, sit down and shut up and watch your team. Like there's a Knicks fan during the playoff game 2 years ago that was saying Hartenstein's better than Embiid, and I literally just turned around and said, "Sit down, shut up, and watch the game." I'm just cheering. I'm like, no, you're not. You're not cheering for your team. You have no idea what cheering for your team is. I said, and I pointed at the security guard. I'm like, see that security guard? I've known that guy for 10 years. He will get you out of here. I guarantee it. All I got to do is make up some bullshit excuse. And he wouldn't listen to me. He shut up after that. I just don't need to hear stupid stuff out of basketball.
I know. Sixers are painful though, my friend. They really
are. They are. And I was already miserable. It was the second quarter. I was already.
Yeah, they really are painful. We'll see what ends up happening. Jeff, great stuff, man. Let me ask you one last thing here on the Eagles before I let you run on this Monday. We appreciate all the time you give us as always, brother. But do the Eagles need to add anybody to this roster? Now you're going into after mandatory minicamp. You'll have the layoff until training camp. They have added guys in the past late in the offseason. Do you think another addition is coming? And if it does come, where is it?
I'd love to see him add to the pass rush. I mean, I just don't like the
situation. Trey Hendrickson, Jeff Kerr said it. I'm joking.
They're not paying him.
Jair Alexander.
They can't pay Trey Hendrickson. Trey Hendrickson wants what, $40 million?
They can pay him. I just don't think they want to pay him.
35.
No, they don't want to pay. I don't think they should want to pay him either.
I'd pay him.
Jeff, here's the problem. This team just had the number one defense in football with an 8.5 sack edge rusher as their top sack artist.
They also were a lot deeper at that
like Trey Hendrickson. They need a great every down edge rusher. Now, Trey might be that too, but I don't think they're going to pay that big number for a guy like him.
I just think they need more to the pass rush. And guess what? I don't want to hear people
I agree with
complain
that.
In October when they don't get to the quarterback.
I agree with that. I find it hard to believe they're going into a season without adding somebody, but I think it's more of like a CJ type trade where somebody's on the last year of his rookie deal somewhere.
Yeah, you could see it later in the offseason. I agree with that.
And he hasn't lived up, but the Eagles think he's got potential, that type of thing.
Do we think they bring in Justin Simmons, by the way?
I don't.
I think they love Makuba.
I think they do too.
And we'll see. I mean, there's another one.
There's
a lot of
guys,
186 pounds, man. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Looks like a Vontae Maddox out there, but less physical.
Yeah, Vontae's physicality got him in trouble.
Yeah, I know.
Do you guys think the Eagles have, and I admit there is a fine line here to walk, but do you think the Eagles have gone too far this offseason at preparing and building their roster for future years versus 2025? Like they made some moves that I think did set them up to be able to make their decisions for 26, 27, 28. But did they forget about the now? In your opinion? I mean, they did deplete their defense a little bit.
I'll say this. They chased the now in 18 and it bit them in the ass.
That's I agree, Jeff. I think they learned.
I think if you look at it in which people tend to do, if you look at it in the immediacy, yes, they look past this year. If you look at what's coming, it makes perfect sense. You got to pay Jalen Kerr. You got to pay Nolan Smith, most likely. You got to pay.
Right. It does make perfect sense, but are they still a contender then this year?
Oh yeah. I mean,
well, if you're a contender, then you should do everything you can. Like John, you always say the stars have to align. If your team is good enough, what the hell are you worried about 28 for? I mean, fucking go and win. You know these opportunities are.
Well, you can't control it. You can't control the stars aligning. That's just.
Well, here's the other thing you got to think of too. And I'll go to Baltimore on this. They're already talking contract extension for Lamar Jackson. You don't think that might be a possibility with Jalen?
It's definitely. I thought it might be this summer, but it's probably going to be next summer.
Yeah, you got to pay Quinyon. You got to pay Cooper. You got to pay Jalen. Carter and Jalen Hurts. Like,
right.
You just gave Saquon a contract extension. I mean, A.J. Brown's gotten a contract extension already. I don't think he'll be due for another one. But Devontae Smith might have to get one.
Yeah, they have too many good players.
Yeah, it's a problem. It's a good problem to have, but it's a problem.
And whenever you can't pay Trey Hendrickson $35 million and then have Jalen Carter coming down the
That's
pike.
where I agree with Zander. That's where I agree with Zander.
So, it's a good problem to have. But if you look at every betting line, Jimmy Shapiro sent the betting lines. The top 3 betting lines for Super Bowl opponents are Eagles.
I'm still not sleeping on the Lions. I think the Lions are still going to be really good this year.
Well, they just lost Frank Ragnow. They lost both their coordinators. I
Well,
don't know.
that's where I worry about the talent-wise. I think the Lions are fine, but we saw what happens when you lose both coordinators here. We've seen it with the 49ers in '95. It doesn't look good.
The top Super Bowl matchup is Eagles-Bills 16-1. Number 2 is Eagles-Ravens 17-1. Tied for number 2 is Eagles-Chiefs 17-1. You got to go down to Lions-Bills at 20-1.
By the way, I know the Ravens do choke in the playoffs. I felt like they were so stink bitten last year when they played that Bills game.
Well, yeah. I mean, hey, stars got to align.
Yeah.
At one point, the stars are going to align, and they're going to win one, and people are going to go, "Oh, they won one." Probably.
I keep saying Josh Allen's going to get a Super Bowl at some point in his life.
Probably.
He's good enough. I felt that with Jalen 2 years ago. I'm like, hey, Jalen Hurts going to get a Super Bowl. It's just when he's going to get it.
Yeah.
Now, there are certain guys I don't think are ever going to win one, and one's Dak Prescott. For multiple reasons.
Me neither. I think Josh Allen gets one. I think Lamar gets one.
I'll just say to the point, shittier quarterbacks than Dak Prescott have won Super Bowls.
Yeah,
I mean,
sure.
if you have everything else, we've seen.
Yeah. Honestly, with Dak, I don't think it's a Dak thing. I think it's what's around him.
Exactly.
It's a little bit of a Dak thing. I mean, the guy throws in there. I mean, he threw 2 picks last time he went to the playoffs. They had a great chance to win that game. Packers.
What bothers me about that?
The only thing that bothers me about that game is he didn't know the damn rule that the official has to spot the football. Not that they were going to win anyway, but that's like people harp on turnovers, but obviously you never want to turn the football over. But there's a lot of context to each turnover. You have to look at each individual one. Did the receiver run the right route? Is it the quarterback's fault? Is it, bunch of shit. Yeah. When you don't know simple things like that, bothers me. That bothers me. And he does know the rule, but he panicked in a big situation. That bothers me. That kind of stuff bothers me.
You know what? I'll just say it. Dak Prescott is the king of garbage yards. It is what it is.
Is that Barkley in the background chirping?
That is not Barkley. That is my sister's dog, who they don't raise him like I raised Barkley. Barkley is very quiet.
All right. No,
yeah, I was going to ask if you guys can hear.
I want to be introduced to the dog. That's why I bring it up. I love
Barkley
dogs.
and
It sounds like me though. My dog's perfect. You won't hear him. You won't see him. He doesn't misbehave. He doesn't do anything. Other people's dogs.
Barkley is in his cage.
This dog. This isn't a dog. This thing is running the asylum out here. Are you kidding me?
Well, my dog ran the asylum for many years, to the point I ruined many COVID press conferences. My dog would harp in.
Oh, it was your dog.
That was a different type. Your dog was not misbehaved. I've been to your home. Your dog was well behaved. She was just old enough. She earned her stripes in a way to be able to make her voice heard. That's different than being misbehaved.
Yeah. So my sister, she works I call it a normal job. Like, she actually has to go somewhere every day. So she said, "Can you watch my dog?" Yeah, I can watch him. Finley's a great dog. Just doesn't know when to shut up, as you guys know.
He's fine. He can talk. I like Finley.
You got to put him through military training. That's what I call it, Jeff. You got to take him like they're a North Korean soldier. You got to get in line here. Come on, dog.
Well, it's funny. Finley responds to the name I give him and not his actual name, Dopey, because his ears are dead. Like, he's supposed to be a Scotty dog, but his ears never came up, so he's Dopey.
There you go.
I'm a big Finley fan, so give my regards to Finley. Make sure you check out Jeff Kerr at Jeff. What is the Twitter? I don't have a pop.
Jeff Kerr CBS at
Jeff Kerr CBS.
Very simple.
Make sure you check out CBSSports.com for. Is Jair Alexander a fit for the Philadelphia Eagles?
You'll get more Phillies news out of my Twitter this week. By the way, some moves are coming with that organization. I can't say what.
Yeah. Hey, you gotta stick. What are they? 5 games behind now?
I guess they were 5 games behind in April, and they made it up.
All right.
I'll tell you what, guys. I'll tell you what. The Jair Alexander stuff broke when we were on the air, John, and Just a quick load of social. Looks like the talk is starting quick on Eagles going for Jai Elliott Shore Parks. He makes a ton of sense. All sorts of stuff is coming, everybody, on Jair Alexander today.
Yeah, just a bunch of made-up bullshit.
Yeah, you're probably right, Jeff. But people will think about it. People will ponder it. And here's the thing: I will say that I do honestly believe. I do believe Howie will make the call. Just because I think Howie calls on everybody doesn't mean he's going to make the deal.
Oh yeah, well,
I think he's going to know the situation.
Hey, it's like women. You don't know unless you shoot your shot.
Yeah, I mean Howie calls on everybody. Well, that's bullshit too, because Howie calls on everybody, because he likes to keep his he likes to keep his hand on the pulse of the market. So sometimes it's just figuring out, and he's already called because they've been trying to trade Jair Alexander for a while. He already knows. So that part, when people say the Eagles have contact, they contact everybody. That's kind of meaningless, but yeah, for all the reasons I give, it's not a fit. It's not a fit.
I agree, but we'll see what they end up doing. Jeff, we appreciate it, brother. Your final thoughts before mandatory minicamp kicks off tomorrow.
Let's overreact to guys wearing helmets and shorts.
Jeff, we got to do it, man. It's June, man. What else you want me to talk about?
No.
Sixers.
By the way, if Vic Fangio decides, hey, Caleb Ringo's not good enough, or Dory Jackson's not good enough, which I don't think is going to be the case, but that can change things quickly. But I think Dory Jackson's solid. I think he's.
I do too. Honestly, I don't worry about him and Kaylee Ringo. I don't.
Who's starting though? Who's getting the nod?
I think they want Kaylee to start.
Oh, they definitely
want him, but that's a different question than who gets it.
I think Kelly will get the week 1 start, and if he, the bed, I think Adory's sitting there to take over.
Adory was a sneaky good signing by then. I liked when they brought him in.
Yeah, he's solid.
He earned like a big contract a couple of years ago. He wasn't a bad player.
Yeah, Eagles wanted
well. Yeah.
Eagles wanted him in free agency.
Yeah, like 3 years, almost $40 million. So, we'll see what ends up happening. Jeff, thanks for joining in, brother. We appreciate it as always. Take care of Finley. Take care of Barkley. All right, you got the Lees over there. You got the multiple of them. We love it. Appreciate you, brother. We'll talk to you again next week. All right,
man? I got most of grass, so they're gonna get some outside. I'm gonna go touch grass, as the kids say.
You got a fence out there? Can they just run free or what?
I got a backyard. I got a fence, so
is it not raining? I thought it was raining again.
No, it's not raining here yet. That's why I got to double check everything.
All right.
There you go. All right, Jeff. Thank you, brother.
All right, thanks, bud.
All right, there's Jeff Kerr joining us here on Birds 365. Great stuff from Jeff Kerr joining us as always. We appreciate him.